Hello and welcome to Drive-In Double Feature Podcast. I'm Nathan,
I'm Ryan.
and this is the podcast where we talk about 2 movies a week every Tuesday and Thursday. But if you want to join in on this great big convoy and pay us some money, send $5 to us. You can do that over at Patreon. Wait, they get stuff with it too. They pay us and we give them goods. We give them
No,
stuff.
no, we pay them and they give us stuff.
No, I think you got it all
Right.
wrong. I think flip it around. They pay us, we give you guys stuff only for $5 a month, and you help support the show and you get some fun conversations over there. But moving into this week's episode, this Tuesday, we are talking about Convoy from 1978, directed by Sam Peckinpah and starring Chris Christopherson. Rest in peace. That was my main reason for picking this one, because I've always heard of it. I know the song, which I'm sure we'll talk about. And Chris Christopherson passed away, and I was like, why not? He was in a bunch of weird movies. He's like, if you look through his filmography, he's in a ton of stuff, a ton of junk. So yeah, why not? Why not get into it?
That's how he described his career. Like, I was just in
Junk.
a bunch of junk. I'm trying to think of like the ones like I remember him most from. Like, what's his most well known? Would you say?
Oh God, that he like stars in? Probably A Star Is Born.
Oh, I didn't see that. I didn't see that one.
Yeah, probably that. He's a co-star in Blade. That's probably his most
Oh
popular, I would
yeah.
say. He's also in Heaven's Gate. He's the star of
I
Heaven's
never saw
Gate.
I never saw Heaven's Gate.
I'm trying to think, like, what are his most popular movies? Like, if I go
Well,
to,
I mean, I think he was in Alice Is Not Here Anymore, that Martin Scorsese movie. I know I've seen that.
yeah.
Oh, Lone Star. He was good in that one.
Hmm.
I know. Oh, yeah, Semi Tough. I've seen that.
The football movie, but also Chris Christopherson was a singer-songwriter, did a bunch of music. I'd say that was like his main career, honestly. Oh, he was in Planet of the Apes as well.
Which one?
The Mark Wahlberg one.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, so really was in some good stuff. He played Karubi.
No, that's some junk.
Yeah, you might piss off at least one listener of this podcast with
One
that statement.
Patreon.
Yeah, well,
One
one
Patreon.
patron. But anyway, getting into Convoy, this director, Sam Peckinpah, really popular director. This is actually his most financially successful movie, but also considered one of his worst. There's the trade-off there. Sam Peckinpah, I would say he's most famous for directing Straw Dogs.
He did that. He did The Wild Bunch.
Hmm.
Um, I think he did Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia or whatever.
Yeah, that one's supposed to be really good. Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid is
Billy the
another
Kid.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a long history. He did the original Killer Elite. Yeah, original. There was that
With
remake.
Jason Statham.
Yeah, with Jason Statham and Robert De Niro. Uh, but Convoy is a trucker movie. It's a trucker movie in the way of I would say it's really inspired by Smokey and the Bandit. You can really tell that Smokey and the Bandit was a hit, and this feels like it comes from that same era. Very country, the South getting together, traveling across the United States.
Like I kept the whole time I was just thinking of like Smokey and the Bandit because it's just
Mhm.
like bumbling police officer with like a renegade guy that he meets a random woman like on the side of the road and then they go on this big adventure together.
Yeah, exactly. And it has a silly song. It has the Convoy song where literally it's a guy saying what's going on in the movie. He'll be like, "Oh, now the cops are pulling up behind old Duck," and just saying it. And then the chorus would be, "Come on, get in the convoy." That's it. And it's long too. It takes over a
Can
whole
you sing the
scene.
rest of it?
I'm not singing. I'm not singing anymore. If I was more of a singer, I would have opened this podcast with the Convoy song.
Just
uh,
start singing.
mhm. No, but this
Yeah.
isn't a musical podcast. But no, the movie actually does open with Chris Christopherson driving on the road, and his name is Rubber Duck. That's his call sign. And a woman drives by him, played by Ally McGraw. Her name is Melissa, and she's taking pictures of him riding down the road in the other lane of traffic, which causes Rubber Duck to get pulled over by the police. And this kind of starts this train of bad things happening to Rubber Duck. I guess that's kind of his deal, is he's a legend in the trucker community. Everybody knows who Rubber Duck is, and he seems to always have always to have a story around him. So whenever he moves on from the cop, Burt Young's in this movie, by the way, playing
I was
Love
like,
Machine.
so when I saw this, I was like, did Nathan like intentionally pick two Burt Young movies in a row?
No, it just kind of worked out. It's like when you picked what's his name, the wrestler on
Kevin
accident.
Nash, yeah.
Yeah, Kevin Nash, 2 weeks in a row. Um, it worked out. Burt Young is much better here than he was in Carnival of Blood. He's
That's
Burt.
debatable.
He's Burt Young. You know, he's not doing anything special, but he's kind of fun here. I love his name, the Love Machine, because Burt Young. When I see Burt Young, I think Love Machine for sure. But they also call
Well,
him Pigpen.
he wants to be called Love Machine, but they're like, no, no, you're
You're
Pigpen.
you're Pigpen. Yeah, exactly. Uh, and they all talk over their CV radio for a good amount of the movie. It's him, Rubber Duck, and then Spider Mike.
Spider Mike. Yeah.
Spider Mike. They all truck together. And they're just talking for most of the movie. Spider Mike, he has a baby back at home, and he's working hard to take care of that baby. So let's hope that that everything goes good for him as the movie goes along.
I
Um,
hope so.
yeah, but what happens is there is a bad cop played by Ernest Borgnine who plays a Cottonmouth, a Sheriff Lyle Cottonmouth Wallace. What a name. Um, and he basically entraps all these truckers. He calls them up on the CV radio, basically gets all of the truckers to start speeding so they'll speed right into his trap. Because Ernest Borgnine has like an unflinching hate of of truckers for whatever reason. He just
Did
can't
they
stand truckers.
did they ever explain why he hates truckers so much?
So no, they don't explain why he doesn't like truckers. And I was hoping for like backstory to come up where he was like, "Oh, no, you truckers, you murdered my mama or something." We don't get any
Yeah,
of
that's what I
that.
was thinking it was gonna be like, oh, my daughter, she was riding with this trucker or whatever, and that he crashed and killed her, and now I hate
Mhm.
all truckers for how reckless they are or something.
Yeah. From what I get from it, and maybe I'm looking too deeply, was that Ernest Borgnine loved truckers. He always wanted to be a trucker, and like maybe something happened where he couldn't be because he loved trucker terminology. He knew all of it. He knew how to use the radio and trap them. He knows later in the movie when they're in the helicopter, he knows how to talk to truckers. So like maybe he always wanted to be one, but he couldn't be. It's like a jealousy thing. I don't know.
Could you be a trucker?
Me, actually, that's something I wanted to talk about. I always said when I was younger that if I was single, I'd be a trucker. Just because like I don't want to leave anyone behind. Like if I, have a wife or anything, I don't want to leave them behind. But if I was alone, trucking's awesome. It's really cool. I don't know, just driving across the country, delivering stuff, stopping places. I'd be a trucker. I
Gotta
think it's
get
cool.
it's gotta get old though.
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's not any fun. Like, but I mean, I play a
It's
game.
trucking's fun. Oh, it's not fun.
Well, I guess like if you do it too much and depending on where you drive, because I always see truckers that have to like drive in like downtown areas and they're like blocking traffic to back in the places. I'm sure that's awful. That's why I like to play American Truck Sim so I can enjoy all the good parts of trucking without like any of the hardships of trucking.
You sit there with your big gaming setup with like three monitors and you're wearing like
Yeah.
a Von Dutch trucker hat.
That's what people do. I mean, it's funny. I'm on the American Truck Sim subreddit, and there's a guy who's a trucker, and he plays American Truck Sim whenever like it's the night's over, he's resting in his truck. He sets up his computer and plays American Truck Sim. Like, good lord,
I can't. I couldn't.
that's
That's
like
too
too
much.
much. That's too much trucking. Too much
It'd
trucking.
be like, oh, like I work at a grocery store and I'm gonna go home and play like the grocery sim or whatever.
Yeah, it's like you don't. Why would you do a simulation of a job that you have? Like that's so. I'm not doing podcasting simulator. even though that actually sounds kind of like a fun game.
I would be interested in playing that.
Okay, okay. Maybe it's because I don't podcast for a living, you know. It's just it's fun. It's for fun. I'm having fun, Ryan. Uh, but no, yeah, he hates truckers. Um, and so what happens is they pay off Ernest Borgnine. They just give him money so they can move on, and they stop at a diner. But I do want to say something. Sorry, before we move into that. So the original cut for this movie was I have it written down in my notes. Okay, I don't have the exact minutes, but the first cut for this movie that Sam Peckinpah turned in was over 3 hours long.
Oh
Um,
my God.
yeah, yeah, it was supposedly like like from what I read, I didn't write it down, but it was going to be close to four, or it was close to 4 hours. And then the studio took it, of course, and they chopped it to bits. So I wonder if that storyline of why he hated truckers is lost in that 3 hour cut of the movie.
Oh yeah, there's like two missing movies. Like,
Yeah, right. How do you even do that for this movie? Okay, so like Convoy, it's fine. Didn't love it though. I definitely didn't love it, and I can imagine if there was an extra, what is that, like 2 movies here, I would have probably
like an extra
disliked
two
this.
hour, yeah, like 2 hours just missing from this
Yeah,
movie.
then I would have hated this movie. And there's even parts of this where I was like, is this necessary? Do we need some of this? Um,
No, I couldn't imagine this movie being that long. I mean, it's very. I mean, there was some times where I was just like, okay, like
mhm.
I I get it, but it was I like for it being like a 4 hour movie, like I that would be so unbearable.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think it would be the loved classic it would be today. Isn't that crazy how much that happens? That like
Is
movies,
this movie beloved?
I guess you're right. I guess I'm speaking too much. I mean, people like it was it was very popular at the time. Like when it came out, it was a big deal. Very similar to like maybe not in the craze of Smokey and the Bandit, but it did make 45 million on a 12 million budget.
I
Um,
mean, I know it was popular then because there was like a lot of people getting in like the whole trucking
mhm.
like fad or whatever, but I've never heard anyone be like, "You ever seen Convoy? Like that movie's
Yeah,
great." And but
maybe it's not
I've heard lots of people talk about Smokey and the Bandit, but never
never
Convoy.
Convoy. Yeah, Convoy is definitely like the forgotten piece of this time in history. That's for sure.
Well, when they get there, they get to like a diner. I don't know if I liked it, but it just like everybody knows who the duck is and everything, and
Mhm.
he's really popular, and he's like sleeping with a waitress who I guess is also married.
Yeah, well, according to Wikipedia, she's married to Ernest Borgnine. But I don't know how true that is because like
Wait,
when they
what?
meet yeah, when they meet each other in the diner,
They didn't
um
seem like
they
they
didn't
knew
seem like
each
they were
other.
married. But yeah, I mean, of course, anybody can change Wikipedia. This is someone's fan fiction, but it says her name was Violet Wallace, sometimes girlfriend of Rubber Duck and wife of Sheriff Lyle Wallace.
So is that why he hates the trucker? Because he's been sleeping with his wife?
It could be. I don't know. It's quite possible. But yeah, that whole that subplot is so weird. Where he sleeps with this girl, like they're kind of together. She likes him more than he likes her. It's that kind of deal. And she always looks like she's gonna cry. That actress looks like she's on the verge of tears the whole movie, or the whole section of the movie she's in. She's a quick subplot. She's in the diner scene and she's out. There's a bunch of action going on in the diner with like the cop coming in searching, and then Chris Christopherson and her are about to have sex in the car or in the truck. And the way this is edited is so weird. It's almost like Chris Christopherson and Violet are about to have sex, and it takes forever because they're having full lines of dialogue, sentences inside the diner, cut to the truck, and Chris Christopherson always got his shirt off now. It's very slow process. Um,
He likes to take his time.
hey, that's okay. I mean, it was a birthday present. What a weird scene. She's tied up in a bow, and she's like, "You want to open your
And
gift?"
yeah, I was like, oh, that's so
Yeah,
cheesy.
it's so cheesy. Um,
But after that, though, I mean, they go into the diner and the sheriff, he's like basically trying to intimidate these guys and like basically asking for like how much money you got in your wallet there. And
Mhm.
Love Machine's like, yeah, yeah, I got some money, I got money. And then goes to Spider Mike and it's like he's like, I don't got any money, I'm sorry. Like,
Mhm.
and so they basically threatens to like arrest him and everything, and then insults him by saying that like somebody else is like, oh, like who's the father of your child or what.
And then he punches the cop. Um,
And that has like a really long like fight scene in the diner.
yeah, with so many slow-mo shots of people getting thrown over tables and like people
That,
joining in on the fight that don't need to
yeah,
join in on the fight.
well, like I like that there's those two older guys there that's
Hmm.
like one's like kind of like because there's like one cop that shows up who's like this huge massive guy,
Hmm.
and like it's like these two older guys, and like they're kind of he's one guy's like, well, get in there, like do something. He's like, I'm waiting for my moment. Like, and then they both like try to attack him, and the guy just like, ugh, and then they they get thrown over the table. It'll
Uh-huh.
like cut back to somebody else. He's still rolling on the pool table, and they'll cut back, and he was like, like,
Yeah, it is absolutely insane. And the sound effects that you're doing now, that's pretty much the sound effects you're getting here. Yeah, and it's just like a whole brawl. They knock the crap out of like the cops. Chris Christopherson, he joins in and he becomes the
Oscar
main.
Stopson gets his ass kicked too in this fight.
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
But he's like considered like the winner, I guess, because or he's like the main villain now, even though technically Spider Mike caused everything. But he does handcuff Ernest Borgnine to a chair, and they bust his car up, and they all get out of there. One of the funnier moments of the movie is when Ernest Borgnine gets up. And he needs to get the handcuffs off, and she has to lift the seat up for him. I love when he goes to find a car, and there's the two teenagers in the car smoking weed and they just like eat it. They just I know it's been done before, but I thought it was funny. They just like stuff their face full and just
And
like
he's like, I'm commandeering this vehicle. He's like, hey, what is that in your mouth? Like, just get out of the
get
car.
out. Yeah. And then he's like on the road chasing down the trucks and he's yelling at people for not using their turn signal. And I think there's something so like he takes traffic laws so seriously.
Well, like apparently every car he steals, they all like because he doesn't take. Does he take his
Mhm.
CB radio out of the police car?
No, I don't think so, unless
So
that
like,
scene's cut out.
so every car he walks in like has a CB radio.
Yeah, I thought that was so silly because he gets into this like kid's car and it's like, oh yeah, I got the CB radio, and it makes no sense because he can talk to them pretty much at any time he wants. And this is where the big chase part of the movie goes because their goal at the beginning is to just get over the state line to get out of there, but it becomes more of a nationwide thing, and he has to make his way down to Mexico. And this is where the chase part of the movie comes in. Um, now, my thing with this movie versus Smokey and the Bandit, Smokey is cars. It's a little more agile. They can move. There's more stunts there. Trucks, they're a little bit bigger, a little bit slower. So I don't think the trucks get as much action as a movie like that.
My biggest complaint with the movie um is not more so because of for one, I think a lot of it has to do with like the chemistry between Burt Reynolds and Sally Field, and then also
That's
Jackie
true.
Gleason. It's just like they work really well as a trio, like of stars for the movie. Um,
Oh yeah,
second,
yeah.
what?
I was gonna say we haven't even talked about Ally McGraw.
Yeah,
But yeah.
and then second one is just it's it was just a lot more fun, I think.
Hmm.
It's just very much like, oh yeah, this is gonna, you were just in here for a good time, like cop cars crashing, and like, they're trying to get out and make it all the way out to Georgia or whatever. And
Hmm.
in this one, it's like it's like it kind of starts out as like a fun chase movie,
Hmm.
but then it's like, no, this is like this movement, it's a lot bigger than that. It's like this is
Yeah.
about like trucker rights, and this is about like, but it wasn't even like the trucker rights. It was like, oh, this is like a nationwide problem, and like it's like all these people like, I just don't understand, like, yeah, like they each had like their own reason for like being in the convoy. So like Spider Mike's like, like I don't want to have a black man like come from Vietnam just to go live in the ghetto and get shot or whatever, and
Mhm. And then one guy was
but
like talking conspiracy, right? And another one was talking about
yeah,
like Richard Nixon, of course, and Watergate. So
yeah,
yeah, it becomes a political movie.
yeah, very odd, but there was fun. It was funny because they got to one guy, and one guy was just like, I'm just here to kick some ass. And then just like, so is there any other reason? Like, nah, I just like kicking ass. And then he just start, because it's the government, like the secretary for the governor like shows up, press secretary, and he's like, hey, you actually look pretty cute. Like, how about we pick out some sup or something?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, at least that's like a little bit humorous. There's like a preacher that's like has like a bus and they all praise God together in this convoy. So yeah, that's kind of like the movies like a convoy starts to follow Rubber Duck like he's like a beacon. It kind of reminds me of Forrest Gump in a way. The way you bring that up is like Rubber Duck's just running from crime and everyone else is like, yeah, this has a message, this means something, and it's more like, no, he just needs to get out of here. So like
Yeah,
Forrest Gump running, he's just like, I just felt like it, that kind of deal. um but yeah, it becomes a huge convoy. And they even get like immunity. They get like a camp. They get told like, oh, you can stay at a camp and we won't arrest you. All you guys can stay there. And that's because there's someone going up for political office that, if they were to arrest them, it would just ruin his political career because it's a re-election year. And a character we haven't brought up yet is, well, we brought her up at the beginning, is Melissa, the lady taking pictures. Well, she actually shacks up with Chris Christopherson in his truck, and they have a romance. The reason I keep forgetting about her is because she's very forgettable. Their relationship is like nothing. It ain't interesting.
I was about to say, like, did she do anything notable in this movie?
Not at all, because like if you think about it, she's oh God, a journalist, and takes pictures. And at one point, she's like, "Oh, you need to do this for your political career because he can cut a deal with the governor to basically just make everything right." And he doesn't agree with it. And she's like, "No, well, you need to do this. It's gonna really help out." And he doesn't listen to her. So like the one pivotal scene with her, not important to the movie. So yeah,
Yeah.
she's very pointless.
I never really I couldn't name like one memorable moment she had in the movie where I was just like, oh, wow, like that's like her defining action. But because it was always just kind of like she was sitting in the truck, like looking annoyed type of thing, or it's just like I
Hmm.
don't want it's like, can we hurry this up? Like I have to be on a flight and
Hmm.
uh pretty soon. And he's like, you ain't taking any flights from for a while.
Oh, yeah, exactly. He basically kidnaps her, and then she gets Stockholm syndrome. Uh, but yeah, so during this convoy, Spider Mike just leaves, which I think is like the dumbest idea you possibly could. He's like, if I take this back road, I can definitely sneak past them and go home to my wife and child. When there's helicopters that have been watching
And he's
them.
in a giant semi truck.
Yeah, but he takes the chance and he gets kidnapped. Well, I'm sorry, not kidnapped, arrested. Um, and he ends up in a jail and he gets the crap out of him. And this gets back to Chris Christopherson, and this leads to like the bigger moment of the movie. Convoy song starts playing, the truckers band together, and they wreck the jail and break out Spider Mike. One of the I do think the destruction is cool. I'm down to see some trucks run into some buildings and break stuff. I think it's interesting. They made it a point that Ernest Borgnine wasn't racist in this movie. Because like they're like, oh, he's about to beat the crap out of Ernest Borgnine because he beat up Spider Mike, and Spider Mike's like, no, he's not the one who did this to me, and they're like, oh, okay.
Yeah. I thought that was so like he's like, no, he didn't beat me up. He just arrested me and then let me get beat up.
Yeah, exactly, and they're like, oh, well, okay, that's fine, that's
Yeah.
okay.
Like, oh, okay, that's totally fine.
Yeah, so they get back on the run again. They get really close to escaping, As long as the convoy sticks together, it's hard to get to Chris Christopherson. But for whatever reason, an ice cream truck gets in the way of Burt Young, and it breaks the whole convoy. They're wrecking in the people. They've like destroyed cop cars along the way, but an ice cream truck gets in the way, someone falls, and it's like over. It's it's done. The convoy's broken.
Yeah, it's like just one ice cream truck has ruined this whole thing. Like if they should have just parked, well, because they were gonna stop the convoy at one point in the
Hmm.
movie, but then like Chris Christoph is like, "Hey, I got all these explosives on board. Like
That's right. Yeah,
you wanna be running into me." Because they were gonna do like a roadblock at some point, and they're like, "Okay, never mind. Like move the roadblock."
exactly. And it was like fat. It like has it's supposed to be tense because everybody's just trying to get out of the way as they count down. Um, but they do end up he ends up almost getting to Mexico, but because he's alone, he ends up on a bridge. And they end up blowing up the bridge. And Ryan, did you believe he was dead?
Yes.
You did? Okay. Yeah, me
I
too.
was like, wow, like such a dark ending.
Yeah, yeah. No, of course not. They can't kill the rubber duck. They hold a gigantic funeral, like a stadium-sized funeral for this man.
Yeah.
And they somehow allowed like a dead body double to get by because Chris Christopherson's still alive.
Well, yeah. Well, you didn't mention too, like the Ernest Borgnine was like at the end of the bridge with a Gatling gun, like just like just like
It's like a scene out of the Wild Bunch.
yeah. And he's like just firing head on to this truck, and I'm like, this guy, like nobody's stopping this sheriff. Like, I mean, like, yeah, like I guess Rubber Duck is a criminal, but he's not like, oh my God, like we got to murder this guy type of thing.
Right, yeah, no, not at all. But I guess let this cop have his way. Maybe in the 3 hour cut, there was like a talk. We got to meet his police chief, and he was like, "You've taken it too far. I'm taking your badge," and he goes rogue. But I don't
Yeah,
think
or
so.
just like Chris Christopherson just like murder somebody at some point, and they're just like, we gotta
It
get
gets
the murder.
even worse. You murdered my wife, the girl at the diner. Yeah, I
No,
wish.
no, I thought that was so ridiculous too. At the end, they're like having this huge funeral for this like
Mhm.
one random trucker, and they're I guess because everyone was so inspired. Like even if he was like who they like, they still like, gave him like a huge funeral, and but no, he's fine.
Yep,
It's like,
he's dressed up as an old man. No one would know any better.
and of course he gets Ally McGraw again because they had such great chemistry in this movie.
Yeah, that one of the great screen couples. I don't think Ally McGraw has ever been in another movie with a stronger screen couple. Not like Love
Nope, I don't think
Story
so.
or anything. And that movie sucked. Actually, I've never seen it, but
Never seen Love Story? Wow.
no, wow, no, no, I haven't. Um, but no, so the Convoy, it was fine. Just kind of okay. Like, I mean, it was just for me, would have been better if it was even shorter. I think it's a little long. Like some of the stuff we went through, like the scene at the camp, that went on for like way too long. Ally McGraw is not very good. The only actor I thought was fun in this movie was honestly Ernest Borgnine. He was
Yeah,
really good, but
I agree.
he's Ernest Borgnine. He's always good. So I don't know. It's fine.
I agree. Also, we didn't mention like on Tubi how there's like
Oh
four
yeah.
different versions of this movie.
Yeah, what was that? One of them, I only clicked on one other one and it was like super widescreen and super crappy quality. There's one that was like decent to watch. What was which one did you watch?
I would say hour 51. There's like
Okay.
an hour 48, hour 50, hour 51.
Yeah. I don't know what's up with that. And I didn't look into it, but like just looking at like its
Is it like a
release,
public domain? Is it a public domain movie or something? And
I
it's
feel
like people have
I feel like I would have read it somewhere if it was, right? It could be. Um Yeah, I don't know. Kino Lorber did a release of it on Blu-ray recently.
oh well, thank God for that.
Yes, thank you. It's officially Kino. Um,
Um, but no, I agree. It's fine for what it is. It's not particularly memorable, and it's like it's very tonally very weird because I was very, if you're gonna go for like a real fun slapsticky one, I think they could have gone a little more all in on that aspect.
Mhm.
Or if they're like, oh, we're gonna do like a really like shocking like movie about the trucking world or whatever. I think they could have gone more in that direction. Maybe there was, and like it's like, oh, they had
Maybe.
like this big like melodramatic piece from Sam Peckinpah, and they're like, we just can't release this.
Yeah, we can't do that. But I mean, that's a thing. Sam Peckinpah was kind of known for that. I think that Pat Garrett movie that just got a Criterion, doesn't that come with like 3 or 4 cuts of the same movie?
That one
I,
has a lot of cuts, I know.
yeah,
And then I think so does Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia. I think that one
yeah,
also has a couple of cuts.
yeah, that one has like a horrible release history. Like it's just like it. I mean, it's finally gotten a nice release, but there for a while it was hell to find that movie. Just kind of some directors just have that. Their career is just full of like movies being torn apart by studios, and maybe there is a better version of Convoy. One that I could recommend, but not today. Convoy is a not recommend.
No, I wouldn't recommend this one. There's much better car chase movies
Exactly.
like
Um,
Grand Theft Auto and
oh,
Eat My
I
Dust.
That's my favorite duology. I love them both so dearly. But Ryan, what are we covering on Thursday?
Well, Nathan, we're bringing it down a couple of we were really disappointed by the romance between Chris Christopherson and Ally McGraw. Well, let's check out the romance in Ice Castles, which is streaming
Okay.
for free on Tubi.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to watch Ice Castles. But if you want to tweet at us, you can tweet at us over at the IDF Pod. You can email us at drivingdoublefeaturepodcast@gmail.com. Be sure to check out our Patreon. But until next time.
Until next time.